In today's video, we are covering three major developments shaping the geopolitical landscape right now. First, Donald Trump publicly rejected Ukraine's offer to share its battle-tested drone defense technology, claiming the United States simply does not need it. Second, President Zelensky warned that Washington's partial rollback of sanctions on Russian oil could hand Moscow up to $10 billion to fund its war machine. And third, the United States Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth revealed that Iran's newly appointed supreme leader is injured, likely disfigured, and hiding from public view. These three stories are deeply connected, and together they paint a picture of a world order under extraordinary pressure. Let's get into it. Donald Trump made headlines on March 13, 2026, when he flatly dismissed Ukraine's offer to help the United States strengthen its drone defenses in the Middle East. Speaking in a Fox News interview, Trump said, quote, "We don't need Ukraine's help on drone defense. We understand drones better than any other country. We have the best drones in the world." It was a statement that caught many analysts off guard, and not just because of its tone. The rejection directly contradicts an earlier claim by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who had said that Kyiv had already agreed to Washington's request for assistance in protecting American military bases in Jordan. More than 10 countries have formally requested Ukraine's expertise in countering attack drones, according to Zelensky. Ukrainian specialists have reportedly been deployed to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. The offer was not made out of goodwill alone. Ukraine has been proposing this technology exchange since last year, offering combat-proven anti-drone know-how in exchange for advanced missile defense systems. The Trump administration reportedly rejected the initial offer back in August 2025, during Zelensky's visit to the White House. And here is what makes Trump's rejection so striking from a strategic standpoint. Russia has been hitting Ukraine with somewhere between 150 and 200 drones per day on average. In July 2025, a single mass attack included 728 Shahed-type strike drones and decoys, a record that shocked military analysts worldwide. Between December 2025 and February 2026, Russian forces launched nearly 19,000 attack drones against Ukrainian territory. Ukraine has had to learn, under fire and at enormous cost, how to defeat these weapons at scale. No military in the world has accumulated more real-time experience countering drone swarm attacks than Ukraine. And yet, the United States, now facing its own drone threat from Iran in the Middle East, is walking away from that knowledge. Think about that for a moment. The conflict in the Middle East escalated sharply after American and Israeli forces launched combined strikes against Iran on February 28, 2026. Since then, Tehran has fired more than 500 ballistic missiles and over 2,000 drones at targets across the region. The United States is now operating in a threat environment strikingly similar to what Ukraine has been navigating for over 2 years. And Trump's own admission in the same Fox News interview added a layer of serious concern. He acknowledged that Russia may be providing limited assistance to Iran, lending credibility to earlier intelligence reports suggesting Moscow is helping Iranian forces coordinate attacks against American military targets. Russia helping Iran strike American troops, and the United States refusing Ukrainian help to stop them. That is the contradiction sitting at the heart of Washington's current posture. Now let's move to the second story, because it connects directly to what we just discussed. On March 10, 2026, Zelensky warned from Paris that a partial rollback of American sanctions on Russian oil could deliver $10 billion directly into Moscow's war chest. The U.S. Treasury Department issued a license allowing the sale of Russian crude oil and petroleum products that had already been loaded onto ships at sea. The authorization runs from March 12 to April 11, 2026, a 30-day window described as temporary. The stated reason is clear. The Middle East conflict has driven energy prices to alarming levels, with oil approaching $100 per barrel after Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz, a choke point through which roughly 20% of the world's oil supply flows. Washington needed to ease supply pressure fast, and Russian tankers already at sea were a quick fix, but Zelensky's argument cuts straight through the economic logic. Russia spends its energy revenues on weapons. Those weapons kill Ukrainians. And now, those same weapons, including Russian-made drones, are being used against American allies and American forces in the Middle East. Lifting sanctions so that more drones can fly against you later, as Zelensky put it bluntly, is not the correct decision. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz reinforced this position on the same day, stating clearly that there are currently no grounds to consider easing sanctions on Russia, and that events in the Middle East cannot serve as a justification for reducing pressure on the Kremlin or cutting support to Ukraine. The tension here is significant. The United States is simultaneously trying to suppress Iranian aggression in the Middle East, support Ukraine against Russia, and stabilize global energy markets. These objectives are now pulling in opposite directions. Every dollar that flows into Russia's budget through relaxed sanctions is a dollar that funds the same military machine supplying drones to Iran, the same Iran now threatening American bases and closing global shipping lanes. The geopolitical irony is almost too sharp to be real. If you are watching this and you want to stay informed on everything happening in this rapidly changing world, this is exactly the kind of analysis we bring you every week. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and make sure you never miss a video. Now let's get to the third story, because it changes everything about how we should read the current moment in the Middle East. Pete Hegseth, the United States Secretary of Defense, delivered a striking statement on March 14, 2026. Iran's newly appointed supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, is injured and likely disfigured. That was the assessment from America's top military official, speaking at a press conference. Mojtaba Khamenei, son of the late Ali Khamenei, who was killed during the American and Israeli strikes that began on February 28th, was elected by a clerical assembly to succeed his father. But since his election, he has not been seen publicly by the Iranian people. His first communication came through a written statement read by a television presenter. No audio, no video, just words on paper attributed to a man who has not shown his face. Hegseth was direct about what that absence means. He said Iran has cameras and voice recorders. A written statement with no audio and no video speaks for itself. The Secretary of Defense added that Khamenei is scared, wounded, on the run, and lacking legitimacy. An Iranian official told Reuters that the new leader suffered light injuries but was still operating. The gap between that characterization and what Hegseth described is significant. What is not in dispute is that Khamenei issued threats in his written statement, pledging to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed and calling on neighboring countries to shut down American military bases on their soil or risk being targeted by Iran. These are maximalist demands from a leader who cannot show his face, issued through a statement read by a news anchor. Hegseth also pushed back on reports that Iran had planted approximately a dozen mines in the Strait of Hormuz. He said the United States has no hard proof of mining, and he criticized earlier reporting on the subject as irresponsible and sensational. What he was unequivocal about, however, is that Washington will not allow Iran to contest navigation through the Strait of Hormuz. The economic stakes could not be higher. Oil prices are already hovering near $100 per barrel. A sustained blockade of Hormuz, real or perceived, could push energy costs to levels that destabilize entire economies. The fact that the new Iranian supreme leader is apparently wounded, isolated, and communicating only through written statements suggests the Iranian leadership structure is under profound stress. A government whose supreme authority cannot appear in public is a government navigating a legitimacy crisis in real time. What ties all three of these stories together is a single thread. The world is managing several overlapping crises simultaneously, and the decisions being made right now will define the balance of power for years to come. The United States is refusing Ukrainian drone expertise while facing an Iranian drone threat. Washington is easing Russian oil sanctions while Moscow allegedly helps Iran strike American targets. And Iran's new supreme leader is wounded and in hiding while issuing maximalist threats he may lack the power to carry out. These are not isolated events. They are interconnected pressure points on a global system that is being tested in ways it has rarely been tested before. The question is not whether these tensions will produce consequences. They already are. The question is how far the escalation goes, and whether the decisions being made in Washington, Kiev, Moscow, Tehran, and Riyadh right now reflect clear strategic thinking, or simply the chaos of multiple simultaneous crises colliding at once. What do you think? Drop your take in the comments below. Are these events connected in ways the mainstream media is not fully explaining? We read every comment, and your perspective matters.